Alasdair, aloha.
Aloha from sunny Portugal. That's where I am at the minute, and I'm sat in a cupboard with a blanket to try and make the audio sound acceptable.
It's way back when in the early days of Wholala.
It's very throwback Wholala. It's very makeshift. If it sounds atrocious, I can only apologise so much. I'm doing my best.
I was said to Alice before, I was like, hey, so you're going on holiday. Like, do you want, obviously we can't pre-record the episode because we're talking about a new story, but do you want me to do a solo app? Do you want me to be on a guest? And you were like, oh, no. I will, hell or high water, be talking about the well.
well, one way or another, I'll be talking about the well.
That you will. How's your holiday?
Holiday's been lovely, thank you. I'm soaking up some sunshine. I am already having the scaries about it ending and it's only just started. So I'm having a nice time. It's my birthday tomorrow at time of recording.
Yes.
And I'm also hoping to go to a water park this week. Those are my hopes.
Nice. Do you have any solid plans for your birthday while you're away?
I do not. I have some very vague plans about a dinner and I hope that there is some cake and that is the plan.
Nice. Well, I was going to say dreading England. It's not actually been that bad recently. The weather's been very hit and miss since you've been away. Sunday's been a bit grey and miserable. Today, as of day of recording, Sunday the 27th, it is quite nice. It's been quite sunny. I've been like a little walk in the park. I've had a lovely roast, so I'm really focusing on the Britishisms while you're away.
Oh.
And I enjoyed a new episode of Doctor Who that I watched twice yesterday.
It was spectacularly good. We got everyone up to watch it. I watched it on Disney Plus this week. I forgot to mention that as well.
Weird.
That was weird. I couldn't watch it on iPlayer here.
I remember when I was abroad during Flux, and obviously it wasn't on Disney or anything, so the only thing I could do was to download the episode on the iTunes store, and it's like the first time in like a decade that I've actually bought something on the iTunes store.
Buying the episode of Who is desperate measures.
The only other episode of Who I had on iPlayer was, not on iPlayer, on the iTunes store, was The End of Time Part 1, because it came as part of that iTunes 12 Days of Christmas.
Oh, so you got a free one part of The End of Time.
Bargain, bloody bargain. But we're not talking about this Christmas special from 2009. We're actually talking about The Well, which is the latest episode of the new season, Doctor Who. Came out on the 26th of April, 2025, a mere yesterday. Was written by Russell Davies and Sharma Angel Woodfall. And this is the first time Sharma's written for Doctor Who. Directed by Amanda Brochi, my bestie again. I say my bestie like I talk to her anymore. I worked with her like 2 years ago. And currently has an IMDb score of 8.7 out of 10.
Yes, and it got 1.9 million overnight viewers, which is a little bump of 300,000 versus last week. We don't have the consolidated 7-day viewing figures and the iPlayer figures in there. We got a bump of 1.5 million for the Robot Revolution when they reported their figures. So we'll land somewhere probably around 3.4, 3.5 million, probably.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
You know what? You know what we keep saying? It's not my job to worry about it. I'm not paid to worry about it.
Literally. I had someone ask me that yesterday. I watched the episode twice. I watched it in the morning and then at a friend's in the evening. And they were asking me, oh, what do you think about the viewing figures? And I was like, I'll be honest, I don't care. I was like, I don't care. I'm enjoying the episode TV.
This is the thing. This season is the same season, whether it had 20 million viewers per episode or 1 million views per episode. It is going to be the same season.
If Doctor Who had one viewer, it would be me. So it would be viewed the same.
One viewer. It's just me and I'll talk about it in the same way.
Exactly. Well, for anyone who hasn't seen the episode, jump on Disney Plus if you're in Portugal, jump on iPlayer if you're back in the UK. And if you'd like a quick recap of the story, here you go.
The Doctor and Belinda land the TARDIS 500,000 years in the future, hoping to take a new vortex indicator reading to trace a path back to Earth. They emerge aboard a dropship and are quickly jettisoned to the planet of the surface below them. Using psychic paper, the Doctor convinces the crew that he's an inspector, and they allow him and Belinda to join. The dropship can't return for 5 hours due to galvanic radiation, so the Doctor and Belinda join the crew on an expedition to a local colony that's gone silent in the last 15 days.
Inside, they find bodies, some with their bones broken, some shot, and notice that all the mirrors have been shattered. They discover Alice Fenley, the lone survivor, who communicates via sign language. She tells them that everybody turned mad and attacked each other. Belinda stays with Alice while the Doctor investigates the control room, learning that the crew has never heard of Earth or even humankind.
Belinda notices something behind Alice, but dismisses it as paranoia. Alice warns them that this is how the chaos began. When a crew member tries to view her from behind, they're violently killed and thrown across the room. Back in the control room, the Doctor discovers that the planet was once coated in diamonds and known by its old name as Midnight. He realises he's been here before, and horrified, he races back to find Belinda.
Alice explains to them that something unseen clings to her and that any attempt to remove it can only cause it to transfer hosts. Panic erupts and more deaths follow. The Doctor speaks directly to the creature and realises that it knows his name. He realises that they can use Mercury to create a mirror and reflect the creature, freeing Alice. But as the survivors flee, the entity jumps again, this time to Belinda.
To save her, Shire shoots Belinda non-fatally, then sacrifices herself by plunging into the mine's well so the Doctor, Belinda and Mo can escape. As the Doctor and Belinda depart, Mo files a report to Mrs. Flood, who is the commander and thrilled that the Doctor is using a Vindicator. As the TARDIS flies away, a member of the crew thinks they notice something behind Mo.
Ooh, it's still there, it's still there.
It's still there!
Oh my
It got away!
goodness. Well, before we jump into our thoughts, we reached out to you on all of our social media, and here is what some of you had to say. Over on Blue Sky, Ethan, friend of the pod, said, I wasn't sure if I was vibing halfway through the episode, but now I'm genuinely lost for words. That was actually chilling. Hamish said, love the first half, but I honestly felt all the tension dissolve after the reveal halfway through. They spent the rest of the episode confused and ultimately wondered what it was all for. Great performances and direction, though. That's interesting. It's interesting seeing how diverse it is. I came away from this episode. I do have critiques. It's not like a 10 out of 10 for me, but I'm interested to see what other people are saying.
Yes.
Peter said, gagged at the midnight motif being back. Felt it was a missed opportunity not making use of the original voice possession bit and not sure if the midnight triggered force crunch power actually worked. But it is an unexpected sequel and overall production had me gooped. An 8 out of 10, I think. I think that's a fair point. I think it's fair. Neon Nostalgic said, I'm still in shock. I wasn't expecting it to be a sequel to Midnight, and so far this series has been banger after banger. The cast are incredible, especially Rose Ayling-Ellis as Alice. No notes, just 10 out of 10.
Oh, fantastic. Over on X, you had many, many, many thoughts. Kez said, 3 episodes in and Belinda has quickly become one of my favourite companions. Shooty's acting was top class. Just gutted that the rumour spoiled the reveal for me. The way it was done, the flashback, the music was amazing, but I would have liked my mind blown whilst watching the episode. Lily said, risky move playing with a fan fave, but it paid off. The fear of the unknown makes the first so scary, so I was worried that they'd get excited and try to solve all of the mysteries. But 11 out of 10 for me for the restraint shown. Such a well done ode to my fave ever episode. Meg said, I went in knowing nothing about it and was delighted to see it connected to my all-time favourite Doctor Who episodes and cried at the end, not something I think I've ever done for Doctor Who since Doomsday.
Oh my goodness. It is one of those episodes. Well, thank you so much for all of your responses. We actually had so many more that we can't read. We had more replies on Blue Sky this week than we ever had on that platform. So thank you so much. But I can't hold back anymore. I'm excited to talk about what I think. I don't care about all of you. No, I'm kidding. I do.
I don't care. I don't care what you think. What I think is more important. Okay. Overall, my thoughts were this has been an incredibly good 2-episode run. And I love the variety when you put them side by side. They are such different stories as well. So yeah, I was pretty blown away by this one, and I was really weighing it up. And I was like, "Oh, did I like that more than Lux? Does Lux have the edge?" I think Lux has the edge for me, but this was absolutely one of the top 3 stories of RTD2, hands down.
It was really, really good. I mean, we'll get into it. My main critique of it is that I don't think it was long enough. So I think that can't be a bad thing to say about the episode, if the one thing I'm really saying is that I want more of it. But yeah, I completely agree with yourself and all the other people who are messaging us. I think banger after banger after banger this season. I was honestly a bit apprehensive going into this season knowing they filmed them back to back, because any critiques I had for season 1, I was like, well, they're not going to have any chance to implement them. But let me tell you this, they bloody have. They must have looked at the future. They've got a TARDIS of their own over at Bad Wolf Productions.
Yeah, I guess they've had some rolling feedback going all the way through, and just some self-reflection on what was working and what wasn't, as and when it was being done. But yes, it feels like a lot of the criticisms of the first series are being addressed this time around. Good,
I'm very glad. Well, before we sort of dive into our thoughts on the episode as a whole, I thought we'd talk for a second about addressing the leaks, because it's something we talk about on Wholala a lot. I think that, you can kind of block it out as much as you want, but if you are in any way active on Doctor Who online, be that on Twitter, be that on Blue Sky, be that whatever, you are going to inevitably come across leaks. And I do think that this is one of the episodes that normally, I've said before on the pod, I used to like hunt out the leaks, like especially like, Russell's first year, I'd be looking for them on Planet Gallifrey and trying to find them. But I think going into this episode in particular, if you hadn't known the reveal, it would have made it a million times more. Like, obviously we didn't know anything for certain, but the second for me that they said, oh, there's extonic rays and the planet's covered in carbon, I was like, oh my God, carbon, diamonds, extonic rays, galvanic rays. Like, I was like, we're on midnight. So having gone into it, not knowing that, I think it would have changed my view on the episode overall.
Yeah, it was, the leaks for me have like massively dampened my entire viewing experience. And I think fans need to get less comfortable with seeking out and sharing leaks. And I think for me, that's the most criminal part, is that some people are so comfortable broadcasting spoilers and leaks. And I think there's a difference between like sharing spoilers of an episode that just came out after it's been aired, and, maybe not applying your like Doctor Who spoilers tag. And then there's things that haven't been teased, haven't been revealed, are supposed to be secrets, and being like, oh, well, that confirms this specific leak I've seen on the internet. And people are like, what do you mean? What leak? So that really, really bothers me, that people have started doing that with leaks. And even just, information that kind of has come across, when information's been found via like an IMDb or like a CV or something, in a way that it wasn't meant to be revealed, and then it gets kind of put out onto Twitter and it gets quickly picked up by the algorithm, and then everyone sort of knows stuff too soon that they're not meant to know yet. So not just in this episode, but yeah, it's very hard to avoid some of these leaks. They find their way to you, and there's things about the rest of the season that I didn't want to know yet that I already know that may or may not come to be, but I find that really bothersome.
Yeah, it's when the autonomy isn't taken away from you. Like, I want to be able to, if I want leaks, like if I want spoilers, then, fine if you want to seek that out. But I think it's when the autonomy is taken away from you and it's just so easily falling onto it when you're just in a space trying to share your thoughts about Doctor Who in general. That's where I find it difficult, because like, you can block the accounts that are publicizing it the most. You can do a million things to try and help. But at the end of the day, if the information is just being spewed out there by people, like you said, not putting any tags on, or just it almost feels vindictive at some points, where it feels like people are deliberately going out of their way to be like, hey, look at this piece of information that I have, and it's like, well, you can have that's fine, but like some of the rest of us want to go in a bit blind,
Yeah, I think that's it. I think people come across a piece of information and feel that they've got an advantage for knowing it, and so they're a bit like, oh, guess what I know. And I find that quite jarring. Aside from that, they did tease midnight, and I think that was a mistake. There was a few things. One was, I think Russell had officially said that this was going to be a sequel, or that one of the episodes in this series was going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
And then in the episode title reveal, they kind of showed a clock turning from 23:59 to midnight. And I think that was a mistake. I think they should have left it a complete surprise, because all the drama of the reveal was gone. It's like when they revealed in Series 10 that Johnson was coming back as the Master. Yeah. And it was like, why did you do that? Like, why would you reveal that? Like, why would you ruin your own surprise at the start of your series? But you know what? I watched with people who didn't know that it was midnight, and we had it on more than once. And so I sort of had a double gag come around, and people were like, oh my God, it's that one. It's the midnight one. The other thing is, some people weren't very happy about getting a flashback to David Tennant. Some people just hate seeing David Tennant.
Oh, get over it. I'm so sorry. It's fine.
But also, I think people were like, actually, we have plenty of information from midnight. I knew which episode that was. It's like, yeah, because you tweet about Doctor Who 6 times a day. Of course you knew. But for like, the average like mum and dad who haven't watched it that often, it's a nice like, oh, I remember that one. It's the copying one.
Yeah.
Like, it's a useful nudge. It's like, I think people are very dramatic about how bad an issue is in an episode and go beyond. That wasn't my preference to do that. I wish they hadn't, into like, oh, this was rubbish.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a whole Wholala episode we can do on this at some point, but I do think that like some people who call themselves Doctor Who fans are just online to be miserable and have a bad time. And at this point, it's like, if you're not enjoying anything from this new era, maybe this show isn't for you anymore. You know what I mean? Like, let the rest of us enjoy it.
If you've watched the last 17 episodes of Who, or however many it's been now, quite a lot. How many we had? Specials, Christmas, last series. If none of it's working for you, it's it's not going to work for you. It's fine.
And that's okay.
It's fine.
And that's
but
fine.
There's so much other great TV on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Go watch Andor.
Watch Andor. You might like that instead. You might not. Star Wars fans, I think, are more miserable. So, I don't know.
Oh my God, no. There's one fandom we were saying the other day to someone. I was like, there's one fandom I won't go near. It's Star Wars. I'm scared of it.
It's Star Wars. I'm scared of Star Wars. I love Andor, but oof. Yeah, the midnight reveal. I mean, risky to revisit it, but, you know, in a way, like, why shouldn't we? Like, I understand, like, you know, it's a one and done. It's meant to be a mystery. You don't want to, like, reveal too much. I don't think this story kind of gave away any of the mysteries of the first one. I don't think it really confirmed anything. If anything, it's just added more layers and more horror to it, in that this is kind of an unbeatable creature. Like, it seems like the best you can do is delay it.
It's really interesting. In Unleashed, Russell was being interviewed and he said, Midnight is the kind of episode you should never do a sequel to. So that's exactly why we did it. And I do think it worked. However, and I'll get into some of my critiques of the episode later on, I am interested as to why so much in this era he's saying, oh, this is the thing they always said I should never do. So that's exactly why I'm doing it. Like, it feels like he's done that for quite a few things this era, which is just, it's just interesting, I think.
I think his brief, or like maybe his pitch when he came back, was like, I'm going to break some boundaries and cross some divides that are things we've told ourselves we can't do. And I'm going to challenge myself to do them. And I think sometimes there's great reward in that, and sometimes it's backfired. But I think when we've gone back to things like Blink, and we've built on the angels, and we've expanded the lore, I don't think it takes away from how great Blink is on its own.
I agree.
Like, I don't think anything that follows it, if you didn't like it, ruins it. It's just more fun with that concept. But in this story specifically, I think we have still so many question marks about the way this creature operates. And, you know, we'll get into the theories as well, but even like how many there are, how powerful it is, how it works. It almost, it also recontextualizes the intentions in the last episode as well. Like, there was quite an innocent in the last one. It was like, oh, it's just learning. It just wants to become real, and it's developing a body. And this episode, it's like, actually, it was playing games, and it was being cruel, and it's a cold-hearted, and it's a cold-blooded murderer.
Yeah,
and it's an interesting recontextualizing of why it might, and also why it might have done what it did in the last story. So I think it added to it.
Yeah, I think there's definite addition to it. I mean, we'll tell you what, we'll get into the reveal of the Midnight Monster in a little bit. We'll maybe go a little bit more chronological, because I know you want to talk about the costumes.
I do want to talk about the costumes. I love this, like, now recurring dress-up scene. I'm glad this is becoming a thing. That it's so funny how this was this whole, like, oh, they're redoing the thing from the Devil's Court. And now it's becoming, like, you know, a staple feature of the episode. And one of the editors working on the show, Joe, posted on their story actually the other day before the episode came out to say, like, there's a great song choice in this episode that I got to make, and I think you're going to like it. It's a real, like, 2005 throwback. And I was like, ooh, like, I'm keeping an eye out for this one. What's it going to be? And Toxic with this, I was like, yes, come on. Like, it works so nicely for a little strut down the stairs. But I just, you know, and also presumably that means that if it's being chosen after, that in the moment they're just, like, skipping down the stairs in silence and just going, ooh, you look good. And they're just, like, moving to nothing. But also another thought I had, it does mean that on some level, because everyone involved in making a song has to approve its use. Like, every time you hear a song in an advert, everyone has to sign off. Every co-writer, every musician has to, like, you know, no matter how small a stake they have in that song, they have to say, like, yeah, you can use it in this way. And so Britney knows about the well.
That is so fun. I do wonder if maybe in 2005, the deal that was made with Toxic is that she agrees that it can be used in Doctor Who, and then that somehow covers them for the future. I wonder if she does know about the well.
I think it's every instance. If it's like, you know, it's a new series with a new production company and the rest of it. But I do like the idea that she's aware, like, oh yeah, Saturday, it's going out in Who.
That's so fun to me. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think it's really fun. It really ties in for me. I really like that this series feels almost like season 12, like Tom Baker's season, where the tail end of each episode follows into the beginning of the last, or the beginning of the next follows on from the tail end of the previous episode, and it makes it one continuing story. I do think it means that Big Finish are watching this crying, because there is absolutely no space for an additional story in here for the Doctor and Belinda. Yeah. But no, I do think it's really, really fun, and I just like when they lean into that kind of playful element of Doctor Who. Like, the Doctor has fun, and it's showing Belinda having fun. I do think it's interesting that their spacesuits perfectly match the other people, because obviously you just think they're wearing, modern day for the time spacesuits. Then when they come out, you realize they're exactly the same, to the point where the helmets match and they can all be put together. I was watching it with someone and they said that they think it's because the TARDIS knows where they're going. Like the TARDIS knows they'll need it, so the TARDIS is providing it. And I think that's fair enough. Like I'm willing to like have that be the reason, but I quite like when the Doctor feels out of place. So like where he's always wearing the Sanctuary Base 6 spacesuit, like I think this could have been quite a fun way of having the Sanctuary Base suit, but I do obviously understand why they didn't go for that.
I think it was I think retiring the Sanctuary Base suit for this was nice, in that I think if you're going to flex a bit of new budget, having kind of 14 new spacesuits that are like lit in a new way and all look really nice and like futuristic and form-fitting.
Yeah.
I thought they were all really cool. And also they needed to have built in the ability to be able to like descend and skydive. So I guess the Sanctuary Base suit couldn't do that. That was shockingly non-aerodynamic and would have flapped around.
It's like,
but I like the idea that the TARDIS makes the clothes for them, and obviously it's up to you to decide how it works and what they pick from, but I remember in Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS there's like a mini tour of a few things that are inside the TARDIS, and there's the machine that makes machines, and we barely see it, but the Doctor explains like it's like insane engineering. Like it can basically build anything. Like it can build airplanes, it can build cars, it can anything you need it to make, it will make. And I'm like, oh, so this is where Bessie's from, in a way.
That's really fun.
The machine that made machines. Like, but with that, I'm like, yeah, it makes absolute sense. Like in my head, in continuity with that there would be a wardrobe that makes anything. Yeah. So I think that's fun. I
always think of it like, we spoke about it in the Lux episode, but that machine in Barbie, where it kind of projects an outfit onto you. I think it works like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I know I was saying about holding off. I can't wait. I want to jump into the midnight reveal. I can't.
All right, go on. The midnight reveal, go on.
So
how are you feeling when she was really slowly revealing, like, the planet, it's called 6767, like, or whatever she said it was, and he's like, no, but the old name.
I mean, like I said, the leak definitely like watered it down a bit for me, I guess, but I loved watching the Doctor realize, because he was like, wait a minute, hold on, you said carbon, what was this planet covered in? She's like, diamonds, it was a diamond mine. He's like, wait, hold on, so the sun is like, yeah, it's galvanic rays. And for me, the bit that really made me think of Midnight before that reveal was when Belinda kept being like, there's something there, and then she's like, oh no, it's nothing, there's nothing. And it kept making me think of the bus driver, where they were like, there's something there, oh no, there's nothing, because that was the only element of that in the episode, because that's the only time you can see the Midnight Monster. The rest of it, it's like, it's possessed sky. And so that made me feel really Midnight. But yeah, watching the Doctor's face when she was like, the planet was called Midnight, and you hear that like, and then the Midnight motif comes in. And like you said, I really liked the little flashback to where they'd like upscaled the standard definition series 4 footage and changed the aspect ratio. But I really liked it all. I thought it was so good. And a big thing for me that I loved is how it shows the Doctor's growth since Midnight, where when he runs back and they're like, listen to the Doctor, he's like, no, don't listen to me, listen to Belinda, because he knows how that played last time when the Midnight Monster was involved, and he kind of let his cleverness get ahead of him. And I just think the reveal and then mixed with how he has changed because of that was really interesting.
I agree. I think reacting differently to it feels like the Doctor doesn't attempt to control the situation in the same way anymore.
No.
And allows the team to kind of lead it a bit more themselves, and delegate as well, because I think also the Doctor's like, I'm well out of my depth. I've not got a particularly good theory here. Like, Belinda, explain yours.
Yeah, literally.
I'm not sure what's going on. But I love it. I love the idea that this is the same planet, but when it's been like stripped bare, and it kind of makes sense as well. Like, like a planet made of diamonds, what's going to ultimately happen to it? Is the most profitable way to run that to have like a leisure facility on the top of it, or is it just to strip all the diamonds off it?
Yeah,
probably the latter, and then just just strip it and sell off all the diamonds. So it kind of made sense to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I was looking at in Unleashed, they showed like clips of Midnight from Midnight as in the planet, and then clips of the planet from now. I do wish they'd have kept a little bit more of like how the planet looks, because in Midnight, as in the 2008 episode, the planet had loads of these real like almost like rectangle shaped like mountains, whereas in the new episode, obviously it's been stripped back and like destroyed, but it just looked like it could have been any old like moon or planet or whatever. So I kind of wish
like funny, like a quarry in Wales.
kind of like a quarry in Wales. Oh, did you know it was the same quarry that was used in Power of the Doctor?
I could tell. I know my quarries.
Do you know what though? That was something I really felt was missing. A big critique I have from Boom is that like it probably would have looked better in a quarry. So I was very happy to see the quarries were back.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you think of the midnight reveal?
I mean, I loved it. I mean, I love Spooky Who, and I love the way that it can like stay with you and play on your mind for days afterwards. Like the idea of the event that we missed 15 days ago being such a nightmare, and it's all happened off screen, and this is just kind of like the ruins of that moment. I just love like it's crawled out of the well and it was laughing and we don't know what to do, and then what happens next? They all start killing each other. Terrifying, so terrifying. And like it's the same with the Satan pit. Like something is just so terrifying about like this bottomless pit, basically. You know, like the idea of like, you know, drilling too deep into the planet and finding something that was meant to be left alone and activating.
You should not have touched this.
No, and there's this idea as well. Like, does that mean that ever since Sky, it's just been like out there dormant and asleep?
Well, there's somewhere. I'm like, how did it get under the planet's surface?
Well, it could be. Does it mean that like over hundreds of thousands of years they built on top of it, like that it was buried and they've drilled down to where the Doctor was hundreds of thousands of years ago?
Could be. That's very, very true. So I understand. So people have been saying a lot that there isn't any element of the Midnight Monster that we knew in this version, in that there's no copying, there's no sort of real reference. It could have been any other monster. And I see both ways, because I do understand that the monster will have evolved in this time and it could look and feel and act completely differently. I do wish that there was some visual representation to the previous era. My suggestion of how I would have done that is have the visual representation be how the monster kind of taunts the Doctor, or like even just like a glimpse into what the Doctor sees. Two ways you could have done this. One, if you want to spend the budget, get Leslie Sharp back just for one line, where in that shot where the Doctor's looking over Alice's shoulder and sees a shadow fall over him and you hear the whispering, if it like cuts over and you just see Leslie Sharp go Sky or something like that, and then cut, and that's all it is. Like it's really more in the Doctor's head than anything else. Or my other suggestion, if you don't get her back, was you have a further pulled back shot from behind the Doctor and Rose, as in like Alice, and you see silhouettes of SAs wearing the same kind of costumes the people on the bus wore from like over the shoulder. And that's, again, all you see. You don't physically see them. They're not real characters there, but it's just like a way of physically embodying that memory and fear in the Doctor. I think that would have
like
brought it to like
by the memory.
Exactly. And I think that would have made it like a real 10 out of 10 for me.
That would have been very, very, very cool. I would have quite liked that, like pulling really slowly back and he sees the silhouettes of like Jethro and everyone else. Would have been very cool. Yeah, I agree. That would have been pretty sick, actually. I like that.
Well, thank you. I should be the showrunner. Kidding. Please don't make me the showrunner. Make Juno the showrunner.
I think so. What I'm hearing is that there was an original script and that it got rewritten and changed to fit kind of being a Midnight sequel later. So I think there was an original script that wasn't intended to be Midnight, and then it got completely redone.
It got Midnightified.
Midnight Part 2. Yes, and I don't know if that means that there was an original script with an original monster that was based on like you can't stand behind it, you can't see it, and you know, then it got adapted, and maybe that means Russell rewrote it quite heavily to change it.
I mean, it would work with a double credit.
I've no idea. Yes, I think it works as a sequel in that I like the idea of the monster evolving over time, like 400,000 years. What did it learn and what did it get wrong last time? And how has it learned to outsmart the group? And I'll get into some really good theories, which are around how the monster outsmarted the group more than they thought they were being outwitted, and ultimately like won in a much bigger way than we realized in the moment. So anywhere that we thought there was a win, it was always according to the plan, which I really, really, really like, that this was just like not a battle that they were going to win.
Yeah.
And also there was this idea in the first one that like mimicking this was like Midnight's first contact with this creature. Like I don't believe that if if the Time Lord still existed, the Doctor would go back to them and be like, wait, okay, anyone know what this is? They'd be like, nope, never heard of that. Like, never heard of that thing.
They'd be like, sorry.
This is brand new. You've just discovered it. And that sounds horrible. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think there'd be any prior contact with this thing. Like, I really think this was the first time anyone had come across it. And this is the second time anyone's come across this thing, and it's unique. So I think if that was first contact and it was learning through like mimicking and also playing through mimicking and enjoying freaking everyone out, then this time it was the full escape plan and it was becoming someone else. And this is where the theories start to come into it.
I mean, they said that in Midnight.
Yes, exactly. So like the next stage is actually like taking on someone else's form completely. And maybe that's already happened by the time we get to the start of the story. And whether Alice is really Alice anymore.
It would have been interesting if the body on the floor, because you never really see its face and no one really pays attention to it, if that body was Alice.
Yeah. And at the very end, you're like, there was another, she was the last body.
Yeah.
And everyone did die. Yeah, there's a lot of good ways that you could have. I mean, we never see that body. But
even just in the case of how the monster acted in Midnight, even if that body wasn't Alice, Skye was dead. Like, Skye Silvestri was dead once the monster took it over. So why would we believe that the monster is just behind her? Like, that's not how in Midnight, Skye wasn't there terrified because this monster had clung onto her back. Skye had died and the monster had overtaken her body. And even if you don't want to say Skye had died, because I know it went into the Doctor, like, who knows? But it is fair to say that, judging by how the monster acted in Midnight, it could have just killed Rose and completely been using her body and stolen her voice.
Yeah. We'll get into this. I've got some lovely theories lined up. Should we talk about Alice?
Yeah, let's talk about Alice while we're on the diva.
While we're on diva, Rose Ayling-Ellis was, I think, the heart of the episode, and I think did a stellar performance and was very captivating and very believable and had a lot of wonderful nuance in her performance, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was so good. I remember falling in love with her when I saw her performance on Strictly of the dance where halfway through the music cuts out and she carries on dancing, and she just is such a powerhouse of talent. And it's completely unrelated to this episode. There's also one episode of EastEnders she's in where it's set during COVID and nobody was allowed to go near each other, and she punches someone in the face, but they're so clearly from 2 meters away, and the camera is just, and she's like, doof, and they're like, wow, and that just sticks in my head with her. But no, she was amazing in this. And like, for me, the bit that really like struck a chord with me is when they all turn away from her and she starts crying and she's like, please don't turn your back on me, because they're kind of weaponizing her disability by not allowing her into the conversation. It's really interesting.
Absolutely. There was a lot of really good comments about the way they did this. Saw some online, I was having a scroll through the Reddits, and saw some nice comments too from people who are both hard of hearing and British Sign Language users. Highlights for them were the Doctor actually signed with her, so the Doctor knowing British Sign Language, and there was a little video they did as well of Ncuti learning it, which was really nice. And realising that that's a really nice message of acceptance that hasn't been in Doctor Who very much so far. And in this, they expanded a bit and talked about like where else sign language has been in the show, and it's not been in it very much at all.
No.
And this, I think as well, they said that they did some tests as well, like with people who use sign language and who are hard of hearing and deaf, and asked them like, basically, what do you think of the script? And they got a lot of praise back for the way it was done.
Well, Rose, she looked at the script as well. Russell said that she gave him notes. I know that Russell T Davies scripts don't get amended that much throughout production, but Rose had a look at the script herself and gave him notes on how she would amend it to make sure that things were right. So she was even involved within the writing process. So I think that's fantastic.
I enjoyed as well the like a nurse who can't sign, that's against the law. That was quite fun, like a way of showing like in the future that access can improve. Belinda saying you're right, it should be the law. Like a good critique of a lack of access as well, pushing for better education and medical access for deaf people. It was nice. Like it was a very like, it's one of those things where it's like a hopeful view of the future as well. Like, people have got their like built-in comm badges as well. So there's this like, easy translation system they've got, so they can just kind of like, you know, activate, and then they have like instant subtitles as well.
Even if not everyone can speak sign language, there's no world in which people who have hard of hearing disabilities should be at any of a disadvantage to anyone else.
Yeah, and it's just like part of the standard kit. All the soldiers know how to use it. None of them are reluctant about using it. There's, even a moment where someone like forgets that Alice can't hear and is like, and they're like, oh wait, hold on. They have to like cast the message to a different screen.
Yeah.
So that, I think it was all embedded really nicely into the script. And as you said, yes, the bit where they kind of violate her trust as well by deciding what parts of the conversation she can and can't hear was a good way, I think, of embedding the topic of ableism into the story. That felt, it just fit in really nicely, I think, with the episode. Yeah,
I really do. I think that it was done, when you look at it and compare it to, say, how it was done in Under the Lake, I do just think it is, you can really see the difference both in the characters and also just in like how the world built. And like you said, I like that you often see, apocalyptic futurescapes in these kinds of both episodes, Doctor, but also in shows generally. And it's nice to see that in ways as we develop, prejudices and ableism can be subsided in this future. I think that's a really positive way of looking at the future. I really like that.
It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Belinda in this episode was fantastic again. And I'm just really drawn to her performance again. Varda, I just really like the way that she's being Belinda. And I just think she's just very, what do I think she is?
She's bloody great.
I just enjoy watching her. I just think she's great. I just really enjoy watching her. Very consistent characterization, I think, for her as well. When she thinks that the entity has got her, and she's like, it's over for me and this is it. And she accepts that, I think it's me. I think that was like her stand-up moment. I got chills with that. And then when she accepts that she's going to have to be like shot in the heart to try and survive it as well. And then
she was just like, well,
TARDIS and being like, okay, yeah. Like, okay, my heart's fixed, I guess. You've grafted it or something. I loved it. Like, I could feel her fear in the story as well. It was nice. And then the whole way through as well, like she's scared, but she's continuing to think in a really sensible way about what they do and developing her own theories and trying to get them all out of it alive, and also trying to get them to be compassionate as well, even when there's an easy option, which is just to kind of leave Alice behind and head back to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
They don't take that option.
No, for sure. I just think that I think both in who her character is and how she's written, and also how she plays it, how Varda plays it, I just think that she's such an amazing companion. I think from day one, from when we saw her in the Robot Revolution, I knew that this was going to be a companion that I connected with right away. And she consistently is somebody who has just as much space in the room as the Doctor. Like, I like that they introduce themselves as the Doctor and the nurse. I like that pairing that they kind of playfully say at the beginning of the Robot Revolution, that they kind of stick with that equal bearing. I think that that's very important and also really good. I just really, really like that.
Yes, I think so too. It's very nice that they are just like on even footing, I think, as a duo is really nice. And it stood out to me a lot when the Doctor said, like, no, listen to Belinda, and like, let's all actually like gather around and hear her theory.
Yeah.
Was really good. So often everyone has to listen to the Doctor. Someone else maybe has a better idea than me, versus this version of like, so Junior's father wasn't in the room, I find quite refreshing.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I do think that a lot of how he acts of that in this episode is off the back of learning from his mistakes in Midnight.
Also, I want to mention Quaylen Dunn, who played Shire. I thought she was fantastic. And I think the scene at the very end where she goes for the noble sacrifice was great. I found that to be very emotional as well. Like, just a kind of moment of, I think, just remembering as well, because I think you've got this whole cast of characters who are all wearing the same spacesuits and all look very interchangeable. And I think it was that moment we needed right before she sacrifices herself to just remind us that she is a complete and complex character with a story of her own that is sadly coming to an end. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's something that in a longer story we should have had more of before this point. Like, I think maybe inserting it at this stage is quite late, but it was nice nonetheless, I think, to almost show that her life was building to this moment, which makes then the reveal that it might have all been in vain that bit more tragic.
I know. It's really interesting. Like, I don't ever remember them doing something like this for a side character in Doctor Who. Like, you know, even as far back as like Jabe sacrificing herself for the Doctor, like, we don't know that much about her backstory. Or the character that I think of a lot is, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the woman from A Good Man Goes to War, who says about the time she met the Doctor and they ran through the forests together. We hear about her story, but we never see it. And it was so nice that they put the Everters in the production team into having that flashback, because it does remind you that, you know, these soldiers aren't interchangeable. This is a fully fleshed out character that we care about. And I think that was done really, really well.
Yeah, I have to say, when she killed the other commander and was like, I mean, it's brutal when she's like, Alice turn 180, and she doesn't hesitate, actually, but she does, and she flips and kills him, and it was like, sorry, but I had to, and I was like, you know what, Queen, I think you did.
Yes.
I don't know, it was brutal and shocking as well that she was like, we need to kill him because this is getting out of control.
He killed 4 people. She was like, if I kill you, less people will die.
Yeah, but I mean, like, brutal. But she was a very likable character. I mean, always the character's quite likable. And when it's someone who was like willing to trust the Doctor, even when actually the people around them are asking very sensible questions about, like, we don't know who this is, by the way. And also, like, Alice is really suspicious. She's like, I don't think so.
She's like, it's probably fine. And they're like, how do you know? She's like,
it's probably fine. Let's let this guy from head office tell us what to do.
Yeah, literally.
You felt this should have been a 2-parter story.
I did. So to get into my sort of like critiques of the episode, like I said, I think that we could have had a little more of a visual callback to the original episode, or at least one scene, because the only bit that I really felt like reminded me of the feeling of Midnight was when they're all arguing before she kills that guy, when they're all arguing about who to listen to and who's right and who's wrong, and they're all arguing. I was like, oh God, this is Midnight. Like, in Midnight, the monster isn't the monster is the people, and like what the fear of this monster does to the people. And I feel like we could have either had a little visual indicator to that, or a moment where some people are copying each other, even if it's not the monster, even if it's just like something that there's dialogue where 2 people are overlapping their speaking, and the Doctor kind of triggers a PTSD and he's like, shut up, everyone, shut up. However, I do feel like this episode has such it was the first mystery we've had in Doctor Who in ages, the first proper, like, we're trying to work this out with the characters. I think more so than like Lux, it was a real mystery. And I think we had a real well-paced opening and really slow drip feeding us information. But like, just in the episode time, from the time that the Midnight Planet is revealed, we're already like 3/4 of the way through the episode. And I think that if the reveal of it being a midnight monster was like the cliffhanger, and then you have to have a whole episode of, you know, how do we stop it? I think that could have been something, or even maybe like a Monk trilogy kind of episode where we have one episode that ends with the monster getting off the planet, and then we have another episode of them trying to stop it. Josh Carr from the Who Knew podcast actually said that his sort of headcanon is that this is part 2 of a 3-parter, and the 3rd part is Wild Blue Yonder, where it is said explicitly that they're taking people's images and copying people, and that's how it ends. And, you know, I'm not saying that's what Russell was intended, but I like the idea that there was more to the story than what we saw. I felt we could have benefited from a little more time.
Or that Wild Blue Yonder is part 1, if that's a rival.
Ooh.
Before it ends up.
Ooh, interesting.
But yes, I see what you mean. Yes, because the consequences, I mean, of this story are quite devastating, because if the entity or entities, plural, as there seem to be by the end, and maybe not, like, that's another scary element to this, is we actually don't know how many there are.
No.
Because we can't see them, and we don't know. And we don't know what people have imagined and what is real. And if it was ever attached to Shire before she killed herself or not. So anyway, so that was always very interesting. And then the consequence would be, I mean, if it's attached to Mo, you know, which it might not be, then Mo probably has to kill herself and everyone on the ship. And if it's also attached, or one of them's also attached to Alice, then it's already out. Like, it's somewhere else now. Like, wherever they send Alice back home, like, presumably that planet's also in trouble now.
I know. I mean, the reason why, because, you know, they say very explicitly, oh, there are 7 of us. How many people can escape? Well, 6. Okay, well, there's 7 of us. And then when the Doctor and the other 3 people with Belinda and the other. There's 4 people who aren't in the escape pod. And we clearly see it's Alice and 2 of the soldiers in the escape pod, but they very deliberately pan to it and they say that there's 4 people occupying it. And we know for a fact that there is at least one monster with them, because we hear Belinda, whether or not it's actually paired to Belinda, which I'm not necessarily convinced of, they hear it whispering. And so I think what likely happened is it did pair itself to Belinda, and then we're meant to think that it transferred onto the woman that sacrificed herself, but it did in fact transfer to Mo. So I think there's at least 2.
Yes, because the thing is, there's the characters develop a rule system for like, okay, that's how it works. You know, like you kill someone and then you get the curse, basically. Like you kill someone and you take on their curse. And then they get paranoid and they kill you and then they get cursed. Like that's how it keeps moving. But all of that is a system developed by the humans. Like that's what they believe. It's not necessarily what's true. Mm-hmm. And there's not a reason to think that it's necessarily confined to being stuck behind someone back. Like, I mean, at the very outset of the episode, it crawls out of a well, right? Like it doesn't necessarily need to be a passenger on someone else to do that. And if it is the same creature from Midnight, like the creature moved freely to enter the tour bus in the first place, and was able to like physically rip the cockpit off that shuttle bus. So
it definitely has a physical form.
It has, yeah. So I love that we don't know how many there are. We don't know what happens when it sees its own reflection. We don't know if, you know, killing the host forces it to move to someone in particular or at all, or, you know, or if it's just doing that because it's an easy way of making lots of people get killed very quickly, is by kind of just hovering around behind them and trying to get people to kill them, and just hopping around the crew and just, you know, going through a little pattern of kind of destroying their bones and having them shoot each other for fun. I love that Doctor Who's got this dark again, I must say. Like, when you talk about it, you're like, woo!
This is dark!
I wanted to make a few, just a quick observation on the set design, and then we can maybe move into the theories.
Ooh, yeah, go for it.
The only thing I wanted to say, really, I think I noticed this especially when Shia was running through the set, you know, to get all the way back to the well, and I thought, this is a really big set. Like, there's a lot of corridors here, and I'm sure like it's partly CG, partly practical, but I was like, this looks fantastic, and I love that you can really feel the scale of it, because sometimes in Doctor Who stories, it feels like things happen in 3 rooms. And this one, it really felt like it was like happening across like a big base, and I believed the size of it. And I love the look of it as well. It really reminded me of like Sanctuary Base from the Satan
It was
Pit.
so
There was, like, enough...
Sanctuary Base. It was the yellow for me in the main room. I said when I was watching it, I was like, I'm so glad Doctor Who's got rusty again when they were opening the door.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the texture on it that's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed that. I just thought it looks great. It's one of those things that I think we take for granted, like the sets. Like, it's not necessarily something you think to call out, but like even in Lux, it's not even a note we made, but like the entire theatre they're in, I wouldn't have even questioned it. It's a set. They never went to film in a theatre, they built one. So it's just astonishing. Yeah. Like what they've done at Bad Wolf is very, very cool.
Really, really cool. And I'm glad you're highlighting it here, because like you said, we do, even on Wholala, we do really take it for granted, because it's the kind of thing that I don't think you should notice. It kind of should just become part of the woodwork. And if it's doing its job, people will comment on bad sets, but they won't always comment on when they're done really well. And this is just a really great example of, and I love that, like, it's old, it's battered, it's weary, it's been, you know, battered down by these exonic rays, and it does feel lived in and abandoned. So I just think they did such a good job with this one. It really felt immersive. I did really feel Sanctuary Base 6. And also, I know I was joking about the spacesuit earlier. The spacesuit they give Rose is different to the ones they all have. And it did look very Sanctuary Basey. Like, it was a different color scheme, but the type of helmet it was did really give me that feeling.
It did. I have some theories about the spacesuit as well that I will tell you all about. Ooh. But yeah, fantastic set. One more thing as well. When you can see the sky from inside the base, it has this skylight that, from memory, I haven't gone back and looked at it, looks a bit like the sky does in Midnight in the spa hotel that Donna's in. The like view of the stars that she can see from the poolside. It looks quite a lot like that. I guess it's the same sky, but like I think that's probably a deliberate visual reference as well.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's kind of like glistening in that way.
Yes. So theories corner. I love that we've got so many theories we can pull from this one. Like, it's really, I think the longer it's gone on, the more the fans have gone, wait a minute, was that straightforward? Because I think in the episode, they the Doctor almost seems to suddenly think that the solution is straightforward. And it's like, oh, we just show it a mirror and it'll destroy itself. And
did they ever actually say anything in the episode that would like lead the Doctor to believe that? Because I felt like that came out of nowhere.
He is like in communication with the entity, and they seem to be having a conversation we can't hear, which some people read as a conversation, some people read as almost a moment of possession, as if like it was going back inside the Doctor for a moment, or some overlap was happening.
I was like, oh my God, it's going back in.
It's going back in. So, and it sounded like it's implied, though it's a little bit ambiguous, that the creature also knows the Doctor's real name. And it's kind of like a question of like, how? I mean,
it's been inside its head. It's had the Doctor's identity before.
Right, which probably only makes it even more threatening and more intelligent as well, that it knows things the Doctor knows. But so it seemed like there was a moment of communication, and then the Doctor suddenly realizes, oh, I know what I need to do. Actually, funny enough, some people read that conversation as part of the monster's escape plan. So basically saying that around the sort of 37-minute mark, this was on Reddit from Yeti der Schneemenensch.
I love these Reddit names.
The Doctor talks to the creature, and then it speaks back to him with the Doctor saying it knows his name. Then the Doctor starts acting strangely, as if something's taken control of his body, like we saw at midnight. I'm not sure I agree with that, but an interesting way of reading it. The Doctor proceeds to utter the words, "Oh yes, there he is." Theory: this was the creature speaking through the Doctor upon realizing it had found a way to escape by means of the Doctor and company. Seemingly back to normal, the Doctor boasts that he's identified the way out. I think the creature is still inside the Doctor at this point, or had influence over his mind somehow from when it spoke to him. After all, we know the creature's primary aim is to escape, which it successfully did when the Doctor put his plan into action. So it's so unlike the Doctor to miss the obvious signs, like the extra reading on the airlock too. So kind of saying, did the creature influence the Doctor's plan, thinking it had given him the solution or a way of, oh, this is how I can be beaten, but actually doing exactly what it wanted. And this is where the second theory comes in. What if the reflection didn't destroy or harm the entity, but Weeping Angel style, the image of the entity becomes an entity, so it created another one. And though we think the crew went around and smashed all the windows because the entity made it do that, right? Possessed them, controlled them, made them smash the windows, whispered to them, made it go mad. What if the crew worked out that it could be replicated through the windows or through the mirrors? What if there was more than one? And what if the creature tricked them into showing it a new mirror after the crew destroyed them all?
Well, this is what I was wondering, because like, if the creature doesn't want to be reflected, because all it seems it did is it like separated it from Rose. And we know it did successfully separate itself from Rose, because when she was running away, she was in front of everyone and everyone was directly behind her and nobody got killed. So we do know that it separated itself from Rose. But what would it do? Possess someone and then force them to move their body? That wasn't how it, at least, seemingly made Rose behave. It didn't have control over her, unless it obviously did. And everything that Rose did was actually through the creature.
Or did through its voice only.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's why it didn't work.
So who was smashing the mirrors? And it would make sense if the crew had worked out that mirrors could mean that it could survive and try to destroy it themselves. Oh, it's also interesting.
I know, we came to this theory yesterday because we were like, oh, it's funny it didn't do the copying. And then someone was like, what if it did do the copying? Like, what if it copied itself as a copy-paste version through the mirror? Because the mirror is a second version of yourself, right? Like, you see yourself in the mirror, there's another you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was one thing. Another one, which I think more people are sort of cottoning onto and starting to believe, and there's, some pretty good evidence for this. I saw this first from @WilliamPrice143, and this was Alice Fenley died 15 days ago. People are saying she isn't possessed, but I think the entity is a lot smarter than we're giving her credit for, or we're giving it credit for, sorry. It's playing. She's sitting next to the best friend that she killed, someone who she says was going to kill her. Brackets, why would she do that unless Alice already had the creature by that point? And it seems like she hasn't moved for 2 weeks, so she hasn't been eating.
If we go by how the creature acted in Midnight, first it mimics, then copies, then it becomes. And by the end, Skye, even when the voice has gone into the Doctor and is possessing the Doctor, Skye has become the monster. It's not him, it's her. It's not him, it's her.
Yeah.
So, 400,000 years later or something, the creature knows how to possess a body. I believe that Rose isn't Rose. I believe she is the creature. I think that's a very valid theory, and I would believe that.
Built on that, there's more evidence. So at the Pridonian said, okay, here we go. Here are the clues that Alice isn't Alice and that Alice is dead the entire time, which is scary because it's like the whole episode, the possession's already happened. Like, in a way, the monster's won. The whole crew is dead. Alice isn't herself. So Alice doesn't tell them what happened to the crew and intentionally obscures the information she gives them. She knows the entity is on her and yet constantly tries to explain that she's clean to them. She often loops her dialogue, which all furthers the goal of her leaving the planet. I want to go home, my daughter. Presented as the perfect vulnerable victim to be found in the center of the room. Her life sign only becomes visible after the soldiers explore the base. And this is likely when she was reactivated. So sort of saying the creature restarted her body. Does not consider covering up the dead body of her best friend she's been stuck with for 15 days. And then on the helmet, her helmet lights at the end are not on. And we see the others do have them on. And they seem to auto-activate with the suits, implying that it hasn't registered her as living.
Ooh.
One more thing. The helmet is grey, adding to the dead look of her metaphorically, not to mention there is only an orange and gold helmet visible in the storage bay earlier, which makes the grey helmet feel more intentional.
Yeah.
She's the only survivor, and therefore the only one who could have scrambled the video logs, and her wounds are still fresh after 2 weeks, likely caused by her being the one who smashed the mirrors.
That's the thing as well, like, because of it's just so written off, like how I fell and hurt myself, but it feels like nothing should be undeliberate. I like to believe she was dead. She was very like Gwyneth Gelth vibes. She was dead the whole time, and so she still has a midnight monster on her, and Mo now has it on her. When after she spoke to Mrs. Flood and has that thing over the shoulder, like, what is it? Like, I just love Doctor Who with see that this is the thing. There's a big difference between an episode of Doctor Who finishing and you having questions because you don't think the episode has properly explained itself, and you having so many questions because it has left you asking questions.
Because there's enough breadcrumbs to arrive at a different ending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think those are two very. I think this is a great episode of Doctor Who for having a mystery where you don't know if they won by the end. I think you're confident in saying the Doctor and Belinda are okay. But even there, I'm like, is the Doctor okay? Oh.
Yeah. Essentially, this again, Reddit, the entity escaped exactly the way that it planned to at midnight. It convinced everyone that it had transferred to the wrong person, who was then killed in an attempt to destroy the creature. I like to think, this is you guys on off guy, I like to think that it learned from the hostess that people would willingly sacrifice themselves to destroy it, and so deliberately shifted the blame onto someone it recognized would make the same choice that they did. So it basically was like, you're going to do the hostess trick again. So let me convince you that I'm attached to the hero and I'm somewhere else. Like, so, as you know, and also one more thing I will say that I noticed, when she hops into the well, she has her back to the Doctor.
I thought that too. She fully has her back to the Doctor and nothing happens.
Nothing happened because the creature's not attached. Final acknowledgement on this episode was that maybe a bit of character development for the Doctor. The Doctor promises to meet Belinda's parents, which some people acknowledged is not something that he wanted to do for Ruby. Doesn't want to meet Ruby's mum, doesn't want to meet Ruby's father. Has now spent a year with Anita, in the hotel, and maybe next time he meets Ruby, he'll want to do the same for her and meet her family too, and realise that he doesn't need to be so lonely. But we'll see. We'll see. A seed has been sown.
Listen, I personally don't think there was anywhere near enough character development from the Doctor going from 14 to 15, so it'd be quite refreshing and nice to see some development in them changing and wanting
let's have something.
Yeah, let's have something. I like that. I like that idea.
Love it.
Well, off the back of the episode, I've got a little game for you.
A little game?
It's a little game called Camp or Damn. We didn't play it last time, so we had some very special guests last week. We had the fans from Lux play Camp or Damp with us. But I did want to play it with you today, if you're willing to play a little game.
Oh, I'm very willing. Please, I'd love to.
Let's go. The Doctor and Belinda's tight spacesuits, Camp or Damp?
Camp, and shockingly flattering. There was a lot of comments made about Ncuti's very well-fitting spacesuit in the promo pics, and I think it's gorgeous. Gorgeous, camp, a lovely revamp, I think, of the spacesuit that we know and love. I think it's just so funny that they chose to use the image that they chose for the promo picture. Like, they knew what they were doing. Yeah, they knew.
Babes in the workplace, Camp or Damp?
Camp, and I think especially when it's not appropriate to call me babes, and it's like, okay, hun.
It'd be like, all right, hun.
He's a menace, and I thought it was very funny.
It was. And finally, the Mrs. Flood cameo. We didn't even talk about it. Camp or damp?
Camp, very camp. We haven't even talked about it. I liked a tweet that you did on the Wholala account about Captain Scarlet. Captain Scarlet and all associated franchises, Thunderbirds, the rest of it, really scared me. But she does look very Captain Scarlet.
It's the shoulder pads, I think.
Yes, how early did you clock? When I heard the voice, it took me a minute to realise it was her.
Do you know what's so funny? I had literally just said, I was watching this with Nick and Josh, and we got to this bit when Mo was filing the report, and I said, where's Mrs. Flood in this? And then immediately as soon as I said that, she was like, so, did he have one of these? And I was like, there it is. There she is.
There she is. Found her.
I do think it was camp. I do feel a little bit like the impact has softened, not just from the fact that we had the exact same thing with Susan Triad last season, but this is now the 4th time that we've had a mystery woman pop up throughout the series. We also have Missy and Madame Kavarian. And I do think, none of them are all the same, but this is so similar to the Susan Triad thing that it's a little bit softened for me.
Yes. The only way I think they can really flip this twist is that she's a goodie. I think that's the only way you can satisfy this twist.
She's trying to help the Doctor.
Is that she's trying to get the Doctor in the right place and she's on his side. She's trying to stay out of the way and not interfere with events, but she's interfering with events. She's trying to keep herself hidden from the Doctor, rather, but that she is manipulating things to get him in the right place at the right time, to get him back on Earth, because she expresses that she's happy that he's using the Vindicator. She's like, oh, good, he's using the Vindicator, fantastic stuff. Which is strange if she doesn't want him back on Earth and she's trying to keep him away. So I wonder if she's helping manipulate events. People saying a TARDIS-shaped hole in the wall when they land. They're in exactly the right place at exactly the right time to do the drop. There's a spacesuit and helmet, right in the right place. Everyone's wearing the same things they are. Who knows?
I heard one theory that said she's like the human embodiment of the TARDIS. I don't necessarily think it's that, but I do like that we're back in this world of proper big Doctor Who theories and mystery. Like, this feels like the Mrs. Flood thing feels like a real earned mystery to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, that'd be so funny if she's the TARDIS and one of her most iconic lines is never seen a TARDIS before with direct eye contact. That would be incredibly gaggy if it was just like she was telling us who she is.
Like right from the beginning, like, oh, you've never seen a TARDIS before.
You never seen a TARDIS?
Yeah.
I'm a TARDIS.
Literally. Ugh, I don't necessarily think that's what it is, but that would be so fun.
That's very funny.
Well, thank you, dear listener, for joining us in this fun little episode of Wholala and the sequel to Midnight. We also didn't put a spoiler warning, but if you've gotten to this point in the episode and you didn't want a spoiler, well, I'm sorry for you.
Oops.
Next week, we'll be looking at Lucky Day with the return of Ruby Sunday. You excited for Ruby to come back?
I am very excited for Ruby to come back. Some people are slandering Ruby online. They're like, oh, no, I have to endure a Ruby episode. I'm like, Ruby, you've forgotten that we love Ruby. I think you've all forgotten. You've all gone mad.
If there are no Ruby supporters, you are dead.
Then I'm dead. Then I've been taken by the entity. Shut up. We love Ruby Sunday. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. Well, we're going to meet Ruby and Conrad next week, and I can't wait to talk about it with you. If you enjoy the podcast, you can reach out to us on all of our social media and let us know. We are at HulalaPod everywhere. That's X, Blue Sky, TikTok, and YouTube, where we've been recently posting some video podcasts, including our interview with the fans from Lux. You can go onto our YouTube channel and watch that now.
Yes, you can. If you enjoyed the episode, you can rate 5 stars. You can follow to get notified when new episodes drop. You can buy us a coffee, KO-FI Coffee. Thank you very much, everyone who's already bought us a coffee. We're very, very, very grateful for that. And you can, of course, share the podcast with a friend.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you next week when we watch Lucky Day.
Yes. So we'll see you then.
Goodbye.
Bye.